What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and we're back with the final day, the most stressful day of Grand Party, where things get a little dicey, you know, where there's hidden teams, especially after this first match, dude. Like, from here on out, things get super dicey. But of course, due to the nature of Grand Party and how unreliable and how RNG this game mode appears to be, Roger does always seem to be the fallback. You know, when in doubt, use Roger as the lead, use your Dex team, use your Slasher team, use your Psy team, and that's exactly what we do. So that's what we're going to be showcasing in this video. I know not everyone loves to watch the Roger gameplay, but look, with the way the Grand Party is just the way you have to go about it, right? It's the most reliable way to do it. Well, yes, it is not guaranteed victories for sure, but compared to everything else in terms of other team builds, it just appears to be the best, in terms of the most reliable anyway. We got kind of lucky with this time around. We found Roger and Newgate as the leader for this one. I hadn't taken on a Roger and Newgate in quite a long time. They got a very interesting GP burst skill, which does like a 40% health cut, and do not, you know, put any disrespect on that skill. 40% health cut is so good, and with the way that AI is kind of programmed to use the GP burst skill, if the enemy has the GP burst 100% ready to go at the end of one of the matches, as soon as the next match starts, they're going to automatically launch it. And at the start of a match, to get a 40% health cut put against you is pretty bad. Also, just see the kid whiff there on that special, which is just so annoying. Another thing, Legend Smoothie on the quick team, not a terrible option. The special reverse mechanic is pretty good, and the fact that this team had a Halloween Boa Hancock on it, I was kind of afraid that I was going to get stalled out, but like, that's part of the reason why I love using Blackbeard on these Dex teams, because even if they are trying their hardest on a quick team to combat Dex, it doesn't matter. Blackbeard just says, no, you're not doing it today. And you're going to be seeing a very interesting match later on, where that Blackbeard health cut comes in super clutch due to the way that we have to combat that team in general. But we've already showcased Blackbeard a lot in this Grand Party season. He's just so good on these Dex teams. But yeah, I mean, like, this team is pretty straightforward though. You know, it has poor Chemi on it, which is kind of interesting. I actually did like the fact that they have that character on there, because it enables us to charge the Roger burst skill more efficiently, because it does quite a lot of fixed damage. Like, it's 4,000 damage 2 times to 2 targets, which is really good. A really good amount of damage. You can easily stock up some of that skill for your Roger burst. The Roger burst, of course, we talked about it extensively in a lot of the other videos as well. It's just such an insane ability. It shouldn't be a 2 activation, honestly. 1 is enough. Typically, if you can launch it once, you should be able to win with it. Anyways, we're here now where I didn't know what this secondary team was. We do see here, oh no, no, that's right, Roger Whitebeard, we didn't see it yet. Roger Whitebeard was at the bottom. Wasn't really knowing what to expect into this team here, and yeah, it was Dex, and I was a little concerned initially, but, you know, I was just waiting to get that burst skill. Once I have the burst skill, I feel pretty confident to take on, like, 99% of teams. And here you see the Roger Newgate 40% health cut come through, which I'm very thankful for, actually, because that enabled us to get our Roger skill ready to go. So now I'm just taking note of when the opponents are going to start launching their specials, especially because 40% health cut, we have a lot lower HP than normal. I'm waiting mainly for the Odin and the Yamato launch, or waiting for my opponent to use a special here. So we finally used the burst. I do see Odin is very close to launching. I don't remember if he gets his skill or not. He definitely does get his skill, which is fantastic. So using it right at this time is absolutely perfect. And then Odin goes crazy, doing so much damage. We get the revive proc on Luffy already. Good action bind, and then we get the double knockout, knocking out Luffy and Pell. So big damage dealers, especially knocking out that Pell, is fantastic. So immediately this position here, I had a feeling that we were just going to straight up win. There wasn't really much the opponent could do from this point onwards. It was going to be super threatening to us. Getting another knockout versus Lucci, which is great because he can do good damage with defense down before the proc. And from this point onwards, we just get a very swift victory. So now we move on to the second match here. Now, look, this is probably not the smartest idea in terms of what I did. I thought, let's go ahead and use Dex versus Dex, and let's see if we can hold up. And look, it was a ridiculously close game, and I got some very key RNG towards the end of the game. You can see that we are running essentially just a normal Dex team, like the exact same Dex team that we're running. We have Roger on the bench because I wanted to use his leader, of course, but then we're using like 2 support characters just as extra units, just to make sure that if it comes down to the wire in terms of, you know, it ends up being a draw, we want to have more units than the opponent, right? But noticing their team, they actually have the 8.5 anniversary Zora on the bench, which is not very typical of a Dex team, so I was surprised to see that. But it actually, it's a scary unit, dude. You know, that character can do damage through defense. We get kind of lucky towards the end with the way that certain specials land on certain enemies, because we actually get really down to the wire where some of our characters are going to get knocked out, or at least very, very close to it. And I was very much contemplating using the Roger burst on this team, but I decided to hold out, and I think I'm very glad that I was able to do that, because having the Roger burst for the next team is obviously super good. But the fact that this team is very, very offensive, this is a really offensively focused Dex team, the fact that Sobermask and Dalton were on the front line is kind of surprising. Well, not really Dalton per se, but Sobermask. You don't typically see him on the front line. But obviously Yamato, a huge damage dealer for them. But the Kizaru, surprisingly, that was the character that I was kind of annoyed at the most, because he has a very low CT, and he does fixed damage to a very wide range, or if not, it might be all targets. But then he also consistently applies an attack and a defense buff to the opponent's side of the field. So he consistently causes problems for us. The Blackbeard health cut is one of the big reasons why we're able to stay in this game, as we're able to get the enemy's HP relatively low. The issue with Blackbeard is that his CT is ridiculously high, but for what it can provide, it is very good. But of course, we want to get that Roger burst. It's going to be very key for our further matchups, so we're just kind of hoping that we can cruise through here. One of the other main reasons why I did decide to take on this team is because the other options were both Rogers, and I don't like taking on Roger because it's such a RNG kind of thing with the way that it can work. But the other reason was for the fact that this was a Yamato leader, and we know that getting Yamato to use her GP burst is very difficult, and Yamato doesn't have a good burst in general, so I felt relatively confident that, you know, we don't have to worry about the burst at all, right? We just have to win the game. And the fact that we essentially have one of the best bursts, if not the best GP burst in the game, up against an opponent that essentially doesn't have a burst, I felt like we were in a very good spot. And you see the Luffy actually getting the knockout there on the Sobermask, which is so big with 30 seconds left on the clock. I was so happy we were able to do that. But you see the 8.5 anniversary Zora comes in, very scared of that guy, and you'll see that we get a little bit lucky in terms of the way that some of these special launches here. Good health cut, which is going to help keep those enemies' HP low. Dalton comes in, he hits Zora twice and knocks him out, so we don't have to worry about him anymore. The Moria comes in with the defense down, and we actually proc the revive for the first time, and then Kid, of course, can help us get a bit of wave clear, getting rid of the Kizaru and the Yamato, and then finally at this point I felt very comfortable that we were gonna win, and just to put the cherry on top, Doflamingo just said, you know what, let's end this game right now, let's not even go to time, we're just gonna straight up get the victory. So a very close one right there. But then we move on to the next game, which of course we do not know what the opponent is running. So we have our side team with the Roger burst ready to go, and we are up against a strength team. Now I was concerned because I did see Kuma straight away, but no Kid, so there's no Kid to worry about. So the only character that I am concerned about is going to be the Kuma. He is going to be the target. If we can get rid of him, the rest of this team should flow quite fine. Especially because we have the burst skill, of course. So once again, we're just going to be just biding our time, waiting for our skills to get charged. Then we'll launch that burst, and of course, not only is that a good offensive skill because it means we do more damage to the opponent, it's a very good defensive skill as well. So you may also want to use it, maybe not even to make you do more damage, but maybe just to mitigate what the opponent could do. That honestly is not a bad strategy, considering we're up against characters that can do damage through defense, and that might be kind of key. We did get really good RNGs, I guess, with the Yamato skill. We're able to knock out at least the Odin. Odin is a very big damage dealer, so getting rid of him early is very, very good for us. But I think the Kuma does stick around for quite a while, but luckily for us, he actually doesn't launch his skill, which means that if he doesn't launch a skill, we're not going to lose this game. It's just, it is what it is, right? Anyways, we are going to wrap it up here for this game, so I'll leave you with the rest of this clip, and we'll pick things up with our final match. Now we go ahead and look into the final match. So this is the opportunity for us to pick up our 15th victory, and we're up against a Grand Party Dex Tandem Luffy leader, so we don't know what these characters are. We do know that the Dex team is the second team. I started with my Dex team first, hoping that it was a quick team. That would be best case scenario, and that's exactly what we get. And at this point, I just basically knew, okay, we just need to get one more win, because in no way does a Dex team lose to a quick team. At least a relatively good Dex team just cannot lose to quick. I just don't see how it happens, at least not in Grand Party with the rules that are in place in terms of timeouts. But yeah, look, quick teams, they just don't stand up to Dex, at least right now anyways. So I know that this is a victory, which is awesome, right? So now we just need to think ahead. So, you know, we can park this one, we know it's good. So now I want to get the burst skill, but of course, the way that Dex are, they don't tank a lot of damage, right? We have to rely on the enemy doing damage to us in order to get that GP burst charged. So we really want the Versus Akainu to launch, and it's weird saying that. We want the Versus Akainu to actually hit us because of the health cuts. It's going to increase the amount of GP burst that we get. So that's honestly really good. We do see that the Luffy has his GP burst as well. That doesn't really help this guy right here at all because he doesn't charge any quick unit specials. Super Tandem Luffy only charges Dex or side characters cooldowns to max, I believe. So him using the burst here is completely fine, and of course I chose to challenge his team not only just because it was Luffy leader, but the other ones were also, you know, Roger leaders, and I didn't feel comfortable taking those on. So Dalton coming in with a lot of damage, and look, once again, I was really, you know, happy of course that we were able to get this win. But I am still a little concerned that we don't have our burst skill really nearly charged as much as I really wanted it to. It's only around half charged, and we're heading into game 2, which is kind of surprising because, you know, we basically took no damage, which is kind of surprising. But anyways, we'll carry it in and hopefully, you know, use the GP burst whenever we need it. You know, if we don't need it, then we can try and conserve it for match 3. So we'll see what happens, right? But we're just waiting for these guys to die at this point. These Rumble characters just trying to live out as much as they possibly can, but they cannot survive that long at all. So then we move on to the next one, and I did decide to stick with the Psy team because I felt comfortable with that, because, you know, using a slasher team when you don't have your burst skill is very concerning. The only way that slashers kind of stand a chance is if they do have the GP burst of Roger ready to go. Due to that, I led with that Psy team versus the secondary team. We do know that it is a Dex team due to the fact that Luffy was on that team, and we have already showcased in this video that this team is capable of beating this Dex team. We do see Doflamingo, Anniversary Zoro, and Sober Mask on the bench. So those characters, yeah, they could be a little bit annoying depending on when they make their appearance on the main line. But luckily for us, we're able to hold out for a victory here, which is so good. He's using his GP burst here, which does charge up his Pell, which was a bit concerning. We probably could have used it to use the GP burst to mitigate the damage. I don't think I actually did that. It probably would have been a smarter idea, but I was more concerned about doing enough damage to the opponent rather than the damage that I was taking. Dex aren't really known for their offensive prowess, unless if you're up against a quick team, obviously. So I was mainly concerned about myself doing more damage, but of course, I don't even have my burst yet, so I do need to actually take quite a bit more damage before that burst is even activatable. So again, it's kind of annoying, but at the same time, we kind of hold our own, even though we don't have the burst. And it's just because all these fixed damage, Yamato half stats, and then we have Odin Odin, obviously, which has really good damage capabilities. Already activating the revive of Luffy. We get the skill off with Odin. We bind a lot of their characters. We knock out 2 characters. We see the Doflamingo and the Zoro make their appearance on the enemy side of the field. And by the time we take enough damage, we're just going to go ahead and launch that Roger Burst, and then the enemy straight up cannot win. So luckily, yes, we were able to make it to 15 wins. It doesn't happen often here on the YouTube channel, but we were able to do it this time around, which is so good. At the end of this video, if you guys want to stick around for, I do show off the new title that you get for reaching 15 wins during this season. I think it's one of the best ones that they've released thus far. It looks really, really good. That is going to wrap it up from me though. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you guys did enjoy it, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Other than that, guys, I will see you guys within the next video.